my mom is a piano teacher, so I started learning when I was pretty young, around 3 to 4 years old. And my older brother, he started learning when he was younger as well. So when he started learning, I was just kind of like watching him. So I'd see him play, and I also wanted to do it. So I picked up piano because of my brother and also my mom. And yeah, from what I can remember, I think I've always enjoyed playing piano. It's never been like a chore for me. Yeah.
Does your mom teach you piano?
Yeah.
How was your piano lesson like?
We don't really have like a set schedule. We've never really had a set schedule. We just kind of like did it when we could. She just helped me when we could in her room. And when sometimes when I'm practicing and she's in the kitchen doing stuff, she'll like tell me some things to work on. Um, and there have been some times where I've learned from other teachers, like just a few lessons, but it's just like a lot different because I'm so used to learning with her. I don't really know the environment is like with like an actual piano teacher. Even though I learned from an oboe teacher, it's pretty different for piano, I think. And um yeah, it's pretty comfortable. Whenever I'm with like another teacher for piano, there's always a part of me that's a little bit uncomfortable just because they're not my mom. But yeah, it's pretty comfortable, and it's not like scary or anything. It's just kind of her just giving me tips. And also I think it's comfortable for her to like yell at me if I'm doing something wrong. Practicing has just like become a routine because she's always around. Like in school days, I'll usually do it around like late afternoon to evening time. But I guess like nowadays it's just kind of whenever I have time. It's not really like a set time every day that I like set the piano. But I usually try to start off with something technical just to get my hands warmed up. And then I'll work on whatever piece that I like perform or like record that's coming up. I just loved Mephisto Waltz a lot. I've heard it a lot, so it's always been such a fun piece to listen to, and I really want to perform it. And it's also really similar to Tarantella, also by Liszt that I played before. Like the structure is very similar, so it was because it's pretty similar. It wasn't that hard for me to pick it up, just because I already had an idea of how it would like lay out, and I also had a really familiar idea of the tunes and all. So the difficult part was the technical stuff because this piece highlights the technicality and like the the virtuosity. Um, so those parts are definitely pretty hard to practice and execute, especially the one part with the leaping octaves. I can never guarantee that I'll play that right. And even in my best recordings, I can't even get it clean. But yeah, even so, it's just like really fun to play. And I really like the piece. I really like pieces that have like a storyline because it's it's a lot easier to like immerse yourself in the piece when you have an idea of what's happening. And also, even if you don't have that clear of an understanding, my mom always encouraged me to like come up with a story just to like guide me in like how I interpret it and how I plan to get the message across to people. Um, so yeah, I think like looking into stories is something really important in playing pieces, especially something like this piece. I definitely think there is a lot of drama in this piece because it's kind of talking about this like devilish dance, you know, and I was also because like Tarantella is also kind of like a pretty dramatic piece. It has a pretty dramatic storyline as well. It kind of helped me in uh, figuring out how I want to portray this piece, and it also helps a lot to watch other performances because you can see in those performances they just go wild with how crazy and everything is. So that also helps me a lot in how I play this piece.
Do you have a favorite composer or composers?
I love Chopin. That's my favorite composer. I love like all Chopin pieces. They're also beautiful. I love romantic pieces in general.
Have you played a lot of Chopin?
Not that many, but I just love like listening to it. And in a lot of competitions, I hear a lot of my friends playing different Chopin pieces, and it just sounds so pretty. And I really love listening to him.
Sounds like a practice is not a problem for you.
Practicing is definitely pretty difficult for me. I think in like middle school, um like entering high school, I had a lot of problems practicing. Like I found no motivation at all. Like there's a point where I just like did not practice. And when I practiced, it was just like I was super distracted by other things. So I wasn't really paying attention. But I think my main motivator in practicing is seeing other people performing well. And in middle school, like going into high school, that was the first time I attended like a piano specific camp. And when I went to that camp, there were so many other amazing pianists, and it was such like a huge encouragement seeing them perform because I wanted to also like be good like them. So I think my main motivator whenever I feel like I have I've lost like the drive to practice is just to think about everyone else like around me who's performing really well because I don't want to be like left behind, you know. I want to be good like them. So yeah, practicing is pretty hard for me, even though it may not seem like it. It's pretty hard. Also, um, piano and practicing is like a huge sacrifice in terms of like social life, at least for me, because like the first example I think of is like Halloween. Halloween is like really close to like a competition, like pretty big competitions in New Jersey. So for since like middle school, I stopped hanging out with my friends on Halloween because I had to like prepare for it, and like it's yeah, it's like a pretty big sacrifice on like my social life aspect. So in that regard, it's also pretty difficult to practice, but I just kind of have to think about it in the long run
Do
because
you enjoy performing in front of people?
I definitely get nervous every single time. I'm always nervous, like regardless of if it's a competition or like a really tiny performance in front of people. I'm always nervous. Pretty shy, like in school. I don't really talk that much, like in classes and stuff. But for piano, it's different for some reason. Like I enjoy performing for piano.
What do you think about future about the piano?
I definitely want to continue doing piano. Like I don't want to drop it like ever because it's something it's just like a part of my identity at this point. And it's something that I really enjoy. It's one of the things that I enjoy most. So it's not something that I plan on completely throwing away once I go to college. Like I hope in some way I can continue it in college. um Maybe like majoring even in music like as like a double major or sort, but it's definitely not something that is just like a hobby right now and I'm just going to forget about it later. I'm going to continue it. I think everybody struggles with practicing, but there's nothing I don't think there's anything I can do to like take away that struggle except just think about in the long run it's you're going to thank your past self for practicing and sticking with it, because I know a lot of people who aren't involved in music anymore but they regret not doing piano when they were younger or not trying, because now like they have a greater appreciation for music and they wish that they had stuck with it so that they could, you know, have the ability to play stuff that they wanted to. So just think about future you and you're going to thank yourself for practicing.
So, what has been the most rewarding experience on this piano journey?
And there's like two things I can think of. One of them is, of course, like the friendships I've been able to form because of it through like camps, like I've been saying before. Like I've met so many amazing people through piano, and it's like a different kind of bond that you form with like others who share a similar passion as you. So definitely the friendships is one thing that's super rewarding. And the other is like using my performances to I guess help others and like make them happy. So just like either in concerts or in performances like in senior homes, just like making other people happy through music is something that's been really rewarding.